I have received hundreds of resumes from developers that I've had to decline, and over the years, I've noticed quite a few things which often get people rejected at that first stage. Let's go over them. You may have heard the statistic that recruiters spend around 8 to 10 seconds looking at a resume. Now, for the most part, it's true. When looking at resumes, I'll spend around 8 to 10 seconds glancing over it, looking for the information that I need. If something doesn't catch my attention, I'm moving on. However, if something does catch my attention, I am going to spend more time looking through it. So how can you pass the first scan and intrigue me to spend more time looking through your resume? The very first thing, be relevant to the job. I know, it sounds overly simple and you probably sit there thinking, hey Zach, come on, I'm not stupid, I'm obviously relevant to the job. However, I'm obviously not calling you stupid. Let's take a minute just to understand what relevance means. And I'm going to do that with two questions. If you have a full stack CV, does that mean you can apply for front end and back end positions and be competitive? If you spent 2 years working with Python as a data engineer, that automatically means you can be an AI engineer. Now the answer to them with a caveat on experience level is obviously no. The whole point of that 8 to 10 seconds is to see if you are relevant to the role. So what can we take away from this? If you are applying for front-end positions, make sure you have a front-end focused resume. If you're applying for back-end positions, make sure you have a back-end focused resume, even if it means making two. One of the main reasons why I and other people reject resumes is because they are not relevant or relevant enough to a role. If you're thinking about revamping your resume, then this is the main focus point. Good, so we've got that down. Now where do we go from here? You have a focused or relevant resume. Now what do we do? Congratulations, you passed the first 8 to 10 seconds. I want to read more, but your skills are hard to find. Your key skills or keywords should be very easy to find. They should be there as soon as they open a resume. I should not have to scroll to have them in my vision. Now, why is this important? So think about this. If your resume goes through an ATS, it works on keywords relevant to the job that you're applying for. If a person is manually reviewing your resume, they've had the first 8 to 10 second glance. Now they're looking for the skills that are relevant to the experience of what they're looking for. What does this mean? As mentioned, your skills should be there straight away as soon as I open your resume. You shouldn't have to scroll, but they should be relevant to the job that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a front-end position, then I should see the key skills based around React, TypeScript, Storybook, Jest, etc., whatever tech stack that company is using. Now, what mistakes have I seen people make here? So say for example, you come from an alternative technology, you may have been a C# or a .NET developer, and you have them in your main skills section. This goes against you because it will not get picked up on ATS, it will get marked down on the system, but will also get marked down with recruiters who do not understand technology. Unlike myself, who's obviously a developer and still done a bit of hiring on the side. So it's important to have your key skills and keywords that are relevant to the role. And if you do have skills in other languages or frameworks, make sure they are not the main component of your skills section if they are not relevant to the job that you're applying for. Okay, so we've covered the first two sections, which is having a focused or relevant resume and having the key skills to back it up. Now, the next reason why I reject resumes is a big one and one you can fix quite easily. Have you ever tried to read technical documentation, which is just a word jumble? There's bits over here, bits over there, and you just can't put it together. Or have you tried to read complex code with classes and abstractions everywhere and it just makes no sense? There's smells everywhere. Somebody didn't read Uncle Bob's book, Clean Code. Go check it out if you haven't. Well, reading through a resume is just the same. It needs to be a clean, consistent layout, otherwise it's not going to get read. I tend to use the word creative here because I think that's the word to apply to people when they try to do something a little different, try to be a little unique. Honestly, quite often it doesn't work. And this all comes down to a single word: readability. Nobody's going to hunt through your jargon, through your fancy templates, through your multi-columned applications, through your fancy colors or your word jumble to get the information that they want. It should be really easy for us to flow through and abstract it. Your resume doesn't need to be the coolest things in garlic bread. Honestly, it's quite often the opposite. Keep it simple. Have a nice, easy to read fonts. Have a good layout. Use lots of white space. And always try to remember that you're trying to convey the most amount of information in the most easily to digest format. Now, I left this to number 4, and it's one we could argue about all day. However, relevant experience is a huge factor in whether you get invited to the next stage of the interview or not. And there's one common area where I see people make mistakes which could improve their application process 10 times. Now, we already touched on the focus part of your resume, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to relevant experience. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, you could be a front-end developer who specializes in Vue, but the job specifically requests somebody with React experience. Now, because of your experience, when you were writing your resume, you did not write anything to do with React. There's no keywords or buzzwords or experience there, so you're going to get glanced over for that job, even though you are a front-end developer and possibly a good one. So let's take that back to the first point. Your resume is now focused on the front end, but not relevant. Now, for the majority of people, if you are skilled on the front end, you've probably touched other libraries and frameworks, so it's important to get them down in there or project project in there which shows that you've used Vue or show that you've used React, because it opens you up to more job opportunities when your application goes through the systems. What you're aiming to do is tie in focus, keywords, and experience. Now, number 5 on the list is most important for a good reason. The majority of people do not fully understand the core concept of what a resume is for and what it's supposed to do. And I was in the same boat until I figured this out. Your resume is nothing more than a stepping stone. It's a checkbox exercise. All you're trying to do is show the recruiter that you have the skills and experience that match to the role that they're hiring for. That's it. They don't really care anything about your sort of side hustles or what you're doing in outside of work or your references. They will ask you for all that once you get an invitation to interview and you have conversations and all that comes out. The main thing you're trying to do is just to show that you have the skills and experience. So remember, don't overthink it. Keep it simple, stupid. The most easiest and often simplest approach when it comes to resumes is the best. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the comments, and I'm hoping to hear about your experiences when it comes to applying for jobs and resumes.